Kyle Landon's Blue-White Flash versus Jake Valentine's Black-Green Delirium.
So, from what I understand, Kyle Landon is just dead man walking here. He's not supposed to win this matchup at all.
No, I mean, that's highly exaggerated.
Well, set me straight. Give it to me on the chin.
So it's probably a 60-40 matchup if they're playing like very stock lists, but there's a ton of very small changes you can make to Blue-White Flash to bring it much closer to 50-50.
Yeah, bring it into a reasonable matchup.
Yeah. So you lose some points against like the decks that you're supposed to be very good against, and then you get a lot of points against this Black-Green Delirium deck.
Which is supposed to be a bad matchup.
Correct.
All right. Looking at some openers.
The Wild and Free.
Big sigh of relief from Kyle.
Whoo, boy. We keeping. Jake's going to try it. All right.
Keeps on both sides. Here we go.
Good hands all. Let's see what we can muster here. Blue-White Flash on the play is actually a pretty big deal, especially game one.
Yeah, it increases the quality of your spell callers, right?
Yeah, your spell callers become much better. Depending on the build that he's playing, Liliana might not be like insane against him, but still having the option of spell coloring a Liliana is very good.
Yeah, that seems pretty important. Alright. Port Town, show you the plains. Rattle Chains just runs it out there. Didn't hide it or conceal it or anything.
Yeah. So like the good versions of this deck that I see right now don't run Rattle Chains at all.
Okay.
So I'm not sure about this build, but I'd have to see his whole build to make like an actual judgment.
Right. I'm not gonna judge him on it.
Oh, I'm gonna judge. Just not yet.
I think he's gonna. Yeah, he's got the classic. Here's my clock. I'm gonna leave some mana up and hopefully spell queller your next spell here. 'Cause you can't do nothing against this. Don't spell queller that. Don't target that with the spell queller. That's not a good choice. That's not a great choice either.
No, it is not.
Yeah, I just want that grapple to resolve. If Jake has Liliana in hand here, he's using Evolving Wilds, so that means Liliana is definitely not coming down.
Absolutely not.
Alright, he's going to do it for expedience here. Another plains.
Yeah, I don't hate negating the grapple as much.
Well, now that you
Thalia's big game.
Yep. Now that you know the grapple, now that you know it wasn't followed up by Liliana, if he followed it up with Liliana, he would look like an idiot for negating the grapple.
Sure.
And I think you have to play around the big cards.
Right.
I mean, I can't play around every Grasp of Darkness. I can't play around every, whatever. But I can play around Liliana, which I know beats me up.
Right.
I can play around maybe Mind Rack Demon. I don't know what my answers to Ishkana are, but I imagine it's not a good situation if that card resolves.
It's not good, but negating a Grapple of the Past, like if you think he's going to be light on mana, to keep him off of the 5th mana from an Ishkana is perfectly legitimate. That's the only reason I think that play isn't awful.
I just think it opened him up to Liliana there.
Absolutely. And that's why most decks don't play the Rattle Chains, because they can't afford to have Liliana be such a haymaker against them.
Alright, two Thalias earned 2 Grasp of Darknesses.
Good for Jake that he got both of those grasps for the Thalia. Thalia is typically a very strong card against this green-black Delirium deck.
Yeah.
Thalia and Gideon are the haymakers in this matchup,
From
for
the
sure.
Flash deck, sure.
Meanwhile, You see the power of just this 2-mana flyer getting in turn after turn after turn. Jake is now at 12.
Yeah, you think
He's got a Mind Rack Demon in hand. I think he's playing around Revolutionary Rebuff.
Sure.
But at some point, you just have to pull the trigger here.
Well, I think with 6 mana, he's definitely going to pull the trigger, because then he can pay 2 mana for the rebuff.
Oh, absolutely. But he can't really afford to have this Mind Rack Demon Spell Queller now that he has waited so long.
Right. He's tapping the table. This
And he's taken so much damage from this that if he doesn't have Delirium after this, he's at a huge disadvantage. Oh, he's got it.
Yep. You got Artifact Creature and Enchantment there. So to go along with the Evolving Wilds he put into his bin.
3 new types.
It's in good shape. Now he had Oh, you're right. He was right. Never mind. Alright. This is definitely going to stop the attacking.
Perhaps not.
But not for long. Today, man, if this rattle change goes all the way, I'm going to be impressed.
So you don't really want to spend a removal spell on a Rattle Chains. Right. Oh, draws the Ishkana. That's going to be a hard one to get through.
Yep. I think this is where he's got to have something along the lines of like a Void Snare or something.
A Void Shatter?
Void Shatter, that's it. That's the word.
Or a Spell Shrivel.
Yeah.
Usually those kind of things come in out of the board.
Cancel? You got cancel? Alright.
I don't think cancel's legal right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Usually you can always cancel something. You can count on that.
Yeah, you can usually count on the cancel, but not in this case.
Another Declaration in Stone would be huge. Gets his spider tokens down. Doesn't really even it up that much for you.
Right. Gideon here would be good.
Doesn't look good for Kyle.
Let's see what he's got. He's got spells.
Alright, so he Declaration Stone chooses the Ishkana.
I like it.
It's okay.
He needs something else. He's got 5 mana. If he's got an Avacyn here, that's strong.
Yep,
there it is. Avacyn. So the great thing here is that you get to eat this 1 spider.
Yep.
And it takes him off of being able to kill your spell quellers with spiders.
Oh, okay, sure.
That's why killing just the 1 spider was such a big deal there.
Okay. So Jake's down to, he's still got a bunch of cards in hand. And all the mana you could ever hope for. I mean,
all the mana in the world.
A bunch. He's got tons of Delirium. He might be at like 5 or even 6 Delirium. Counting up, we're going to see an Emrakul here, I think.
Yeah, he has a Traverse.
Yep.
So I think he's got 5 types. With his 8 mana is just enough for Emrakul.
Yeah, I see instant sorcery, artifact creature land, enchantment.
I think he's got a 5 on a die on top of the graveyard.
Well, we definitely have traverse.
Maybe up to 6
grass,
now.
Instant sorcery. A eye makes artifact creature.
Vessel.
Vessel's the enchantment, and Evolving Wilds is the land, makes 6.
There you go.
Take this broken turn and learn to fly.
This is a little bit awkward.
More awkward than me singing in the middle of the match?
No, just that.
Oh, okay.
Just you singing is a little awkward.
All right. Yeah, I suppose he doesn't want to cast either of these cards in Kyle's hand.
No.
He just wants to pass, and like Kyle gets to now play out his turn. If he draws a land here, he can. I would just get this always watching into play.
I don't know what he drew here.
All right, always watching. 3 more.
I think he drew the Sky Whaler shot, which is an instant, and thus cannot target the Emrakul.
No, Emrakul has protection from a Sky Whaler shot.
It does indeed.
That's not where you want to be. So I think Kyle's going to take 13 here on this attack.
Yeah.
Maybe 14 if Jake wants to get squirrely with the spider. Maybe even more if he wants to get squirrely with the manlands. But, oh gosh.
Yeah, I think you want to get squirrely with as many creatures as you can here.
Yeah, and you can put this one in the books, I think.
Put it in the books. Has
So
been
he's going
announced.
to cast Ishkanah. It's going to get Sky Whaler shotted almost instantaneously. As the card is an instant, we just discussed.
Yes. In response to trigger, for no reason, Sky Whaler shot.
Right. Scry 1.
We get a scry.
If it's literally 9/10 of the deck should go to the bottom here.
Like Deck and Stone you want on top?
Yeah, that deck and stone would be fantastic. I think it's the only card you want.
Down to 6.
All right. Fumigate get him out of this?
Fumigate would.
I don't think that's in his deck.
Probably a Singleton in the sideboard, maybe 2.
Stasis Snare could probably take care of the Emrakul, and then you get to block the Grimflayer with your Avacyn.
Yeah, and then swing in for 5, and then if you draw a Selfless Spirit, you win. So there's a path. I don't know what he drew, though.
He drew Collective Defiance? Is that what that is?
That's a Collected Defiance, yeah. 1 lane short of being able to do both of them.
Yep. All right.
Too bad, so sad. On to game 2.
I'm going to step away for just a second, let John pontificate on sideboarding plans.
Okay. Taylor is now stepping away. Please keep all of your clothes on.
100%.
Stop that. Please stop. Okay, so Kyle really depends on how he has his sideboard set up. A lot of times you want to go big with Jaces because they can win the game on their own. You definitely want to bring in your counter magic. A lot of these blue-white flash decks will have Spell Shrivels, Scatter to the Wind. Is that the one with Awaken? They play that out of the board. And just try to go big to go over the Ishkanahs and then have the answer for the Emrakul is pretty important here. The green-black Delirium deck is just trying to shore up its matchup here. Ishkanah is so good at stalling and getting you to the Emrakul part of the game that you just want to do that as consistently as possible. It looks like my esteemed colleague is fully dressed again and sitting down.
had to use the bathroom?
It would have been helpful to actually go to the bathroom then, not just do it in the corner.
You're such a butthead. I didn't pee in the corner, guys. I hope he was covering some interesting ground here.
I mean, you were covering some interesting ground in the corner over there. Hey, yo.
You got me, man. Sick burns.
Yeah. No, but we had a good discussion, me and the chat. A little one-sided.
Yeah?
Yeah, but we talked about some sideboard options. Blue-white flash is probably going to bring in Jaces. Probably going to bring in counterspells.
Yeah.
So the niche that the blue-white flash deck has found to beat the black-green Delirium deck is to go over the Ishkanaz and then have an answer for the Emrakul.
Okay. So
And
there's
Jace helps do that very well.
right. There's the card where it counters everything on the stack.
Right, a lot of them don't even run that. Like, you just need, like, a Void Shatter or a Spell Shrivel
Okay.
is usually pretty good.
Uh-huh.
And just get it out of the game. They can take your turn. You're just playing guys. Like, whatever.
Right.
You're probably just going to crash into their guys anyway. But we'll see what Kyle's build has in store. Jake's deck, on the other hand, wants to really focus on consistency. It wants to have a turn 5 Ishkanah with Delirium
Every time.
every turn 5.
Jake was aggressively casting his grapple with the pass.
Right.
I don't think one rested in his hand for more than a turn.
That's reasonable.
and so
he might not have had any early pressure. So if he has a
that's
Grim Player,
the
that
point.
changes dramatically.
Right, but my point is that like he could have chose to mulligan a hand without early pressure, and what he did was he said, okay, I've got this grapple with the pass. I'm more than happy to let that be my game plan.
Sure. A lot of times this Black-Green Delirium deck will run some enchantment removal.
Yeah.
I'm not really a fan of that against these decks. I guess with Always Watching, it's a reasonable play.
Right.
I've thought about running Always Watching in this blue-white flash deck before because it makes your Selfless Spirits and your 2-1 Flyers match up really well against like the 1-2 Spiders
Sure.
on paper, but they get 3 of them. So all you're doing is you're still just going to trade 1 for 1 because you're a 3-2 attacking into 2 1-2s.
Sure.
So it's not as good as it seems initially.
I guess I get to outclass the Liliana activation then.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing.
I mean, it's not amazing. You still become a 1/1. You still attack Liliana for 1. It's pretty much a push, but like
Right.
that's kind of the deal there.
You just
Liliana
have
is such
to-
a beating of a card. It's
Sure.
so good.
So there's a lot of ways that you can play around Liliana with this blue-white flash deck. Like if you stick a turn 2 Selfless Spirit and then attack and then they play a Liliana next turn
Yeah.
and plus, like you could Spell Queller the Liliana if you're on the draw
Sure.
or on the play. B, you can Spirit Chains? Rattle Chains.
Rattle chains.
To protect your guy, and then you have lethal for the Liliana on the swing back.
Sure.
So there's a little bit of play there. I do like bringing in negates so that you have an answer if they
Right.
just like slam it on turn 3 and you only got the 2 mana. The one thing that I like the most out of this blue-white flash deck is the Thraben Inspector, as weird as that sounds.
Sure.
Because even though it's just a 1-drop, it really forces out some plays on turn 2 and 3, which you can capitalize on with Spell Queller. And I don't know if Kyle's playing those cards.
All right.
Looks like we're going to have a turn 2 Grimflayer here.
Yeah.
Double white mana means shields are down.
Is he going to transgress the mind first?
It seems
I feel like this
really
is a
aggressive.
card. So I think back when I look at transgress the mind,
Mm-hmm.
I think back to Duress from about 3 years ago in Standard,
Right.
and you always wanted to
3
duress.
years ago.
Or it,
I'm just trying to think of the format.
I think duress and Thoughtseize were legal at the time.
Okay.
And you always wanted to cast them the turn before the scary card.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So, depending on what you're worried about from your opponent, can we just put it in the middle of the table? There you go. Thanks, Jake.
Multiple Imprison the Moons. I'm in love.
Spell Queller and a Ceremonious Rebuttal.
I don't know what the Ceremonious Rebuttal's about, but...
He could have targeted this Transgress the Mind if he had a blue mana.
Yeah, I guess. Maybe he's really worried about the Noxious Gear Hulk.
But my point is you don't want to transgress on 2. It's much better to transgress on 4, because then you can get their Avacyn before they can cast it.
Right.
Does that make sense? And you've not wasted the time.
Yeah, you definitely want to cast it at a point in your curve where it's not time walking you, like he has done here.
And
looks like Jake's gonna get a Liliana on top.
Right, and it covers all your draws.
Yeah.
It reduces the chances that your opponent's gonna top deck into the card that just smashes you. All right, this guy's gonna get imprisoned in the moon.
All right. Jake has 4 mana available to him now.
Right.
It's just colorless. That sucks.
All right, so he's complaining that he has colorless mana available to him.
Yeah, that's
it
just
looks like
a crying
he gets to
shame.
spend all of his mana this turn. He gets to Traverse and Liliana, or he can risk it, grapple, getting back a land, and then Liliana. I don't like traversing here because it doesn't up your Delirium count. I would have grappled, and because you, in a pinch, you can always get the forest back.
Sure.
Whereas Traverse is a way to get to your Ishkanah and or Emrakul if you have enough.
This is some odd tapping here. Keeping his colorless mana open instead of the black. I guess it doesn't really matter because we know there's no 1 mana, 1 black instance.
Yeah. Yeah, Jake values this colorless mana super highly.
Played right into this Imprison the Moon, though. How many turns away from Emrakul is he now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So he's 5 quote-unquote mana away.
All right, here's 2 and a black. Pilgrim's Eye.
Okay.
Imagine it goes and gets...
A forest.
Yeah, I don't know how important double green is.
Not very, but I mean, you want something.
Why did he just say go there? I'm so confused.
He's got a grapple. He can just grapple in his turn.
Sure. I would have grappled right then and gotten another... Maybe another Grimflayer?
I don't think he's trying to get Grimflayer. I think he's just trying to get to Emrakul now.
Well... Alright. So...
Here's a grapple.
Yeah, grapple. So I would have tapped green there, and then you had
Grasp mana up.
grasp mana.
You can't get grasp off of a grapple, though.
No, grasp was in his hand.
Does he have a grasp in his hand? He's got a murder.
Oh, is that a murder?
Yeah.
So this Liliana, this Thalia is gonna get murdered.
Here's an Emrakul. We found it.
Alright, so we have instant sorcery land.
Alright, so this Thalia's gotta go.
Apparently not.
Noxious Gear Hulk is gonna take it down.
Sure.
I don't know why we're tapping all of our colored mana sources here, but we are.
Man, this is a full moon. Everything's being imprisoned in it.
Sure. Of note, we have spent that on Grimflayer and Liliana, so when it comes time for Jake to Emrakul, that one's not ending up in the moon. Swinging in for 6. All of a
Yep.
sudden, this is a very large or a very fast clock.
Oh yeah, this is going to be a short game. JK has 8 mana, plus the 3 brings him to 11. So he's 2 away from Emrakul.
Murdering his own guy,
Sure.
which gives him Emrakul mana.
Oh, he needed the Delirium trigger for Ishkana.
Which is fine.
I'm not mad about it.
Definitely speeds
just-
up the clock
it
here.
just had
Is
6
this a
power on
one
the
turn?
board.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah. We're on a dead next turn situation.
Without the Ishkana activation. The Ishkana activation, makes it totally different.
Yeah. That's just icing on the cake.
All right. Kyle's got Rattle
Chains.
Chains tries to get in front of the menacing. Yeah.
Take 4, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Yep.
That should do it.
That's the game. Unless he's got
And that'll do it.
Immolating Glare? Nope.
Black-green Delirium taking it down 2-0.
Yeah, we're just seeing the ruthless efficiency here.
Yeah, Kyle brought in Ceremonious Rejection, which I think is a bad sideboard card here.
Yeah, this is not where you want it.
Yeah, like, you can 1-mana counter an Emrakul, which is cute, but he still gets your turn.
Right. The reason that card was good in the deck it was good in is because the deck was very squeezed on mana anyway.
Right.
So these vehicle deck where you could just we're spending all of your mana every turn, only costing 1 was a big deal, and that's why that card was good.
And it gave you game against the huge portion of the metagame at the time, which was Aetherworks Marvel.
Right. I don't think that card's very good outside of Modern.
Aetherworks Marvel?
No, Ceremonious Rejection.
I don't think it's very good either.